All right. Sorry for the delay, guys. We're ready to get started. Check. Solid. Man, you guys are great, man. Thank you so much for coming out. This is right on. So we want to welcome you guys to our first Elevated Hip Hop Beats Masterclass. Thank you. So first of all, big shouts to Brian Matrix and his Matrix Squad for hosting the event here. It's a beautiful space. You guys should all feel creative just being in this space. So big up to him for that. Right. Next thing, big shout out to y'all for coming out. A beautiful crowd. You could have been anywhere in LA tonight, but you're here with us tonight, right? So big up to yourselves, right? Out of curiosity, where have some people come from? West Side, maybe? Hands up. West Side, nice. How about East Side? Anybody? Tight. Word. How about South Bay? South Bay, tight. Words, nice. Thank you so much. All right, cool. So what we're going to do is have a pretty exciting night tonight. We're going to have two phenomenal, and when I say phenomenal, I'm talking about phenomenal, dope talents do masterclass for you guys. They're going to basically kind of go through their whole process. They're going to show you what they do, the creative process. They can answer questions along the way for you guys. So feel free to jump in with any questions you may have as far as that goes. Both of these guys are masters. So they're going to show you how they actually masterfully produce with the Launchpad X and Ableton Live, and you can see it live here. Once we wrap on that, we will also have a really cool Q&A. So if you have any personal questions about, the process for them or what have you that pertains to the actual masterclass, feel free to put your hand up. We'll catch you in there in the midst of creating. Otherwise, we'll do other questions towards the end. And let's see. So without further ado, our first master is a avid certified engineer, but so much more. The profound founder of this super dope organization called Girls Make Beats. If you have not heard of it, check it out. I have a 2-year-old daughter who will be doing Girls Make Beats one day. Let me know the age limits, right? Right. She has appeared on shows like American Idol, X Factor as an artist. Now she has been more known for honing her skills in the lab with Rose. Can I get a You got Rose, Khaled, Lil Uzi. Just a phenomenal talent, phenomenal person, doing dope stuff in the business, and she's a woman. Please give it up for Tiffany Miranda, a.k.a. Delilah. Delilah, come to the stage, please.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for that warm welcome and that amazing intro. I'm so honored to be here tonight with all of you. I'm just really taking all of this in. So I just want to thank you guys all for coming out this evening and for supporting also such a great cause. As he mentioned, I'm the founder of a nonprofit organization called Girls Make Beats. And our focus is really to empower young girls in music, and we do that by teaching them music technology. So they're learning music production, DJing, and audio engineering, which currently women represent less than 5% in those fields. So very passionate about what we do with the girls. We work with girls ages 7 to 17, and they learn everything from Ableton to Serato. They're using the big boy stuff. And all of you guys, by being here this evening, are helping to contribute to that cause. So I want to give you guys a round of applause. Give yourself a round of applause. And today we will be getting into beat making using the new Launchpad X. But first, I want to show you guys a short video about Girls Make Beats and the cause that you guys are supporting this evening. Can we get the screen mirrored, Ricky?
I'm Mac 10.
And I'm DJ MK, the boss.
And we're Girls Make Beats.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Miranda, and I'm the very proud founder of Girls Make Beats. Girls Make Beats is a nonprofit organization that teaches young girls ages 8 to 17 how to become music producers, DJs, and audio engineers.
When I listen to music, when you listen to music, you can feel what the person was feeling when they made the music, So it's really good. Like, they just inspire people. They make music, and they make me happy.
I personally started Girls Make Beats 7 years ago in Miami because of my own personal story in the music industry. Being a young recording artist in Miami and being offered my first contracts at 15, I realized very early on that the industry was extremely male dominated, especially in the creative fields of music production and engineering.
We're creating life-changing experiences for little girls who don't feel good. When I saw the faces of these girls who feel like they're in a world that doesn't care about them, when they saw that somebody who looked like them is now running it with her own office and making decisions, and it was just like a moment that I still get chills when I talk about it.
I don't know, I just really had a cool experience, and it just, every time I do something like this, it makes me come out of my shell more, and it's really cool to, like, I don't know, get to know people and then make beats, and everything about it is just amazing.
I know you took out all my shyness.
Made my way through major recording studios in Miami, but it was a very tough and challenging road, and I wanted to create something for young girls to be exposed to these amazing career opportunities through Girls Make Beats.
When can I start?
Yeah,
I love that.
It's really, really cool to be able to have this legacy of little amazing people that I know are going to make others feel good.
Ultimately, it goes beyond, you know, teaching a musical skill or technical skill. It's really empowering these girls to have a larger voice and impact in culture.
I could do this for a living.
Yeah.
She's a professional.
Hey guys, this is Whitney Tabor, the very proud Los Angeles chapter leader for Girls Make Beats. If you want to figure out how you can donate or possibly get involved, please visit the website www.girlsmakebeats.org or check us out on some of our social media websites.
Yes, definitely be sure to check us out and follow us on Instagram at Girls Make Beats. And if you have any girls that want to register, make sure you do so on our website as well.
All right. So again, thank you guys all so much, because again, just you guys showing up today, your contributions are being matched by Novation, and it's going towards these girls who often come from underserved communities and don't have access or even just the comfortable environment to learn these really important career skills. So thank you guys again. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. Let me get my setup going here. All right. How many Ableton users do we have in the room? Awesome, awesome. I love Ableton. It's my weapon of choice. I've been producing now for close to 15 years, and I've used a bunch of different DAWs, and I have to say Ableton is definitely one of my very favorite. And the workflow is just really easy and great, and it works so great with the new Launchpad X. Did anybody get a chance to try the Launchpad X? I know we have a couple of them back here. They're super cool, yeah. I had the Launchpad Pro initially, so I got this new Launchpad X, and it's just incredibly lightweight and durable, and I love like just being able to pack up and go and, you know, make beats wherever and whenever, so that's the goal. All right, so I'm gonna walk you guys through some of my creative flows and talk about kind of my process when I'm making beats. Something that I'm very big on and that I teach my girls very early on is file management, which a lot of people seem to skim over, and it can make or break a creative idea, because if you're scurrying around trying to put a template together when you have an idea for a melody or for a drum beat, you know, it could really make or break your song. So one thing I do want to start with is just talking about the importance of templates, because I live and die by my templates. Does anybody use Ableton templates? Is everybody aware how to save multiple templates? No. Okay, it's tricky. So basically with Ableton, are we able to mirror my screen for a second? Okay, so this is a little trick. If you go to Music and then Ableton and User Library, by default, it does not have a templates folder. You have to create a templates folder and name it exactly like this and call it templates. Then anything you save in this area will automatically be a template format. So when you go to save a session, it's gonna do a save as. It'll ask you immediately. So this is a really, really important thing that I like to do when saving my templates. And then from that point, I'll actually go in here and add the folder, and then that same library is the same thing I would there. Go there, Ableton, user library, templates, and then open. So that way it would show up in this section here, and you can have endless amounts of templates instead of just the one that most people will use in the standard save as template, okay? So again, file management is always where it starts for me. I'm a very organized producer. So yeah, so that's a really great tip. And then with that being said, one of the main templates that I use has some of my favorite VSTs. I don't necessarily have sounds that are already loaded, but I will have like an empty drum rack, so I don't have to go and create a drum rack from scratch. Some of my templates do have drum racks with like a kick and a snare, just some basic stuff, maybe a piano, a VST like Omnisphere, and a tuned 808, which I'll talk to you guys a little bit further down the line because there's also a couple cool tricks I can show you guys with that. Does everybody know how to tune their 808s? Show of hands. I can show you a really cool trick in Ableton to set again a template to where you can tune your 808s to anything you pull in, which is really cool. All right. How many people who are producing are sample producers? You guys use a lot of samples and loops and things like that. I know that's kind of the wave of where we're at right now, right? People are using things like Splice. There's actually a really dope plugin I just came across that I love called Arcade. Does anybody use Arcade? Super sick, so I'm gonna use that today. So I'm just gonna walk you through the process. I picked a loop here that I really liked, and I'll go ahead and play that loop for you. Can I get some more volume, please? So I thought that was a pretty cool loop. It inspired me when I heard it. So I'm gonna walk you guys through the process of how I flip that loop and kind of just make it my own, okay? I've determined already this loop is at 135 BPM, and I've dragged it into Arcade on a separate track. Can we get more volume, please? On the... Okay, so the really cool thing is when you're working with loops, right, as a producer, you know that people have access to the same loops. So we always want to find creative ways in making it our own so that it's not just what everybody else has access to on Splice or whatever, right? So there's some really creative ways of doing that, everything from, you know, retuning the loop to reversing the loop, just doing really cool things. And the thing that I love about Arcade is that you can do that fairly easily by just triggering what the black notes would be on a keyboard. I'm going to be using the Launchpad to kind of just flip this sample. So as you can see right there, just like by pressing a couple of the pads, I was able to make it my own. So I like that. I'm going to go ahead and record that. Can we make the mic a little less hot? Yeah. I'm getting feedback. Thanks. Okay. Oh, and one other little trick I like to do is I like to set my metronome. These are just little things that you can do within your template, so every time you open up that template, you have access to it. So if you go to Apple K, Command K, you can actually set your own quick keys. And I only do this one time, and I do it on my template. And I like to use the period for my metronome because it basically is one of the keys that doesn't trigger the keyboard sounds when you activate the keyboard on your QWERTY board. But that way I can turn it on and off with just one key, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and activate that. And And here we go. Okay. So we're gonna, normally if I catch it right on the beat, it'll chop right there and loop. Okay, so that's a cool little vibe. And I'm just gonna activate my drums. One that's a little off, I'm just gonna go and move it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and overdub some hi-hats. What I also like to do is play with, I'm going to add an open hi-hat in here. Again, because I've already set my metronome, I can just press the period to turn it off when I'm ready. Let's say I want to add some more cool stuff in there. This is also an arcade. And then I'm going to activate scale mode, which on the Launchpad X, you just simply hold down note mode. Oh, there we go. And you're gonna see here that it gives you the option to set the key of the song. By default, this first pad is a minor scale. The second pad here is a major scale, and then you can choose the root note. I already figured out that this was an A sharp minor. So this represents basically a keyboard. So you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then these are your black keys up here. So this would be A sharp. So I'm gonna select A sharp, make sure it's in minor. I personally like my pads. There's different ways that you can map out the pad. So by default, on the first pad, it's gonna look like this in this layout where you have your octaves. Just kind of laid up on top of each other, stacked on top of each other. But in this instance, I like to be able to create chords and triads using a 3-finger technique. So I'll actually select the third pad over. And as you can see, if I come over here and let's say I added an instrument, I can add chords and whatnot in a triad. For me, it's just a little better for my workflow. And then also with my 808s, now I'm going to show you guys a really cool trick with the 808s, okay? What I suggest when it comes to setting up your templates, I'm going to start from scratch so you can see what I do to create this. But basically, let's say you want to create an 808 template. We're going to open up a MIDI track. So the quick key for a MIDI track is Command-Shift-T. I'm going to go to my drums, the BWB 808s. Y'all know about BWB kits? Yes? No? You want to know about BWB kits. Those are like the slapping sounds. So just make sure you check that out because it's definitely worthwhile. But let's say, can I get some more volume on these? Okay, so let's say that's the 808 I decide to choose, right? I'm gonna select MIDI and just double click that. It's gonna open up the 808 in Simpler. Very important, you're going to make sure warp is off, okay? And then we're gonna Command F to quickly go to the search bar and type in tuner, and we're gonna throw a tuner on here. Now this is the trick, okay? When you press the root note, it should show you what key it's in, that root note, okay? I'm gonna group my devices, so I'm gonna select both devices and hit Command G to group them. Then I can rename it here if I want it, and then save it. Well, if you press here, you save it, it's gonna go to your user library, and you can say something like 808 tuned. And that way, whenever you go to your browser, you can type 808 tuned, and it'll pop up. And then that way, every time you have access to be able to have a tuned 808. Okay? And if you tune it to C initially, whenever you change the scale, it'll change to whatever key that scale is in. So it's just a really fast workflow. And again, it's something that I always have in all of my templates, so I never have to worry about, okay, let me go find an 808, tune it, da, 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 da. And you can just drop in a new one, and it'll show you in the tuner what the 808 is. And then another really cool thing is a lot of what's really popular is like an 808 glide, right? Do you guys use 808 glides? Okay, so in Ableton, what I like to do is go to Controls, I go to Glide. Normally it's off by default, but you would put on Glide. And you can actually make this bigger. And then the time, you kind of just, you know, tailor it to whichever 808 you're working with. I like it like around 150, around there somewhere. But that gives you a really cool gliding effect. So for instance, so I'm gonna add some 808s on this. That's a cool vibe. And then if I wanted to add in maybe some loops on like a hat loop or something, I can simply search here. Also, just a side note, to kind of refine your search in Ableton, make sure that you're actually in the folder you want to be in, and that way it only pulls up the loops that you're looking for in that folder. If you hit Command F, it's going to search your entire library. So you can always refine it by selecting a folder. But I can actually come over here. I would duplicate this drum I just did. I would select the hi-hats and mute them for this particular pattern that I'm making. So I just selected here and pressed 0 to mute them on this duplicate. And then I'm gonna search through some loops that sound cool. Go to my guy Oracle. Does anybody know Sound Oracle? Heard of Sound Oracle? He's a really dope sound designer. He did Timberland's sound design for a really long time. So I suggest if you're looking for some cool loops and samples, definitely check him out. And he supports Girls Make Beats. He donates his packs to the girls, which is really dope. So. Okay, so now I can just audition some of these samples. I like that one. I might use it. Let me come back. That one's cool too. I like like this one. This one rides. So I'm going to create a new audio track, which is Command T, and I'm just going to drag it over here. And just be careful when dragging. A lot of times your preview volume is going to be a lot lower than when you actually put it on an audio track. So you see how loud it is, but I can go into my mixer section here, go to volume, and then, hold on. There we go. And this actually is like touch sensitive, which is really cool. Okay, so I'm cool with that so far. I would likely keep adding to this, but that's just a cool vibe for now that I can move into arrangement view. So the quick key to move into arrangement view is tab. All right, and then I can go ahead and just make sure I'm at the very start here, and I'm going to activate the record arrangement button. But first I want to make sure stop all. I'm going to press the stop all on here. And then right now, what the session view is showing me on my Launchpad X right now is basically the representation of all of these clips down to the color as well, which is pretty cool. You can actually customize the color if you wanted to right click and maybe make this one a different color or whatnot. You could do that. So here we go. I'm going to get it started. Make sure the timeline's on 111. I'm going to get a little quick 1-bar intro with a metronome, and let's start. You can see the information transferring over. Pad underneath a row, it'll silence that one. That's it. I'm going to press this back to arrangement button, and you'll see everything transferred over. Anything I'm not using, I typically like to delete so it's not in the way. But yeah, there you have it. We have a pretty good layout here. Oh, and one last thing I want to show you guys too, which is crucial to my sound. I like to make sure on the master I put a glue compressor and a limiter, and I also group them, and I do the same thing that I did with saving the group devices before. So you just highlight both of them, you hit Command G, and then you can save it, and then that way every time you need to access your master chain, you can just, whatever you named it, Command F, TM master chain, whatever you name it. I call it TM master chain, it's my first initials. And then you can access it and just drop it in the master, or again, you can save it along with your template. Cool? Awesome. So yeah, that's kind of my workflow. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Yes.
How can you use the simpler versus the sampler? Do you ever use the sampler instead?
Honestly, because I just like to keep it simple. So I'll use simpler. It's simpler. You know. Sorry? Oh, and to repeat the question for those of you who didn't hear, he said, why did I use simpler instead of sampler? And I personally just use simpler because it's simpler. Sampler gives you a lot more access to dive deeper into different functions, but simpler just, it does the job. And it comes also with the intro and I believe standard version. I think you have to have suite in order to get sampler. Any other questions? Yes. The hat?
Are you ever, are you mostly just sticking with like a single loop? Are you working on one loop per song, or are you working with like multiple loops within one song?
I definitely do bridge upon multiple loops normally. I'll have like the one main melody which kind of like drives it, and then as I move along the arrangement I might bring in some other loops, or I play as well, so I might add in, like in this case I have the board tuned to where if I were to record arm omnisphere, I can go back in here and play stuff on top of it. That one thing was off key, but you get the point. Basically, you can go in and like, and it's all mapped to where you can add it in there as well to the scale. But, and then also another thing to consider when you are working with multiple loops is just making sure it's in the same key, because a lot of times, you know, you might get inspired by multiple loops and they don't sound good together because the scales are clashing. So just knowing how to like transpose those things.
Are there any like good plugins you recommend for like finding keys or anything like that?
There's a few. Arcade actually does also find the key when you drop it in. So does Serato Sample, which is a lot of fun as well. And then there's obviously Mixed in Key, which is kind of a classic. And if you have a DJ software as well, a lot of times it'll find the key as well. Any other questions?
When you do a beat, do you do it straight through, like you say, you add the verse, the chorus, the verse, or you just like finish it like just a couple seconds?
Honestly, I mean, you saw just kind of firsthand, I have like a really quick format that I'll go into where it's like, okay, intro, here's the boom, then bring it back a little bit for the verse, here's the boom again, you know what I mean? So it just depends on how you want to like build your arrangement, and obviously also the artist you're working with too, because I've worked with a lot of artists and they're very particular about when the drums come in or when their melodies are clashing with some of the other melodies that are going on, and you have to take those things out and like bring them in later, and so it really just depends. It's an ongoing process. Any other questions? Yes.
Which kit were those 808s from?
BWB.
Which BWB?
Oh, I'd have to look. Let's see. This was the BWB Wave 3 Kick 31. I don't remember exactly. I just pick and choose from like different kits. They're knocking, right? I think this was like a Metro Boomin' kick. Yeah, their kicks definitely knock, like, yes, bomb. Yes?
Do you ever post-process your samples? Like say the kick right here, do you ever run it through the glue compressor or anything like that to give it a little more boom at the top?
Not really, because when I'm creating, like I said, I create in my master chain, there's already a glue compressor, and since I've been an engineer for the majority of my life, I kind of already know like the tones and like how to get it out. And actually the newest version of Ableton has a really dope plugin. Let me see if I can remember the name of it real quick, hold on. They just came up with it specifically for drums. Oh, Drum Bus, it's sick. So like literally, I mean, if I put this on here right now, I'll bypass it just so you can hear the drums without it. And then I'll activate it. You heard that already? Like literally just by throwing it on there. And it's like very specialized to where it has like a sine wave it adds in like the sub bass area, and it articulates like this, the bass drum. And you can add drive and all of that stuff too.
When do you know when to stop making it and when to keep on adding like new stuff to it?
Honestly, for me, whenever I'm making beats, I like to keep it simple at first, because again, you want to leave it open for the artist. Sometimes artists will not be able to hear a melody because you have like way too much stuff going on in the beat, and they're an instrument as well, so you have to remember that. So I definitely try to keep it as simple as possible, and then when I work with an artist, I'll add stuff around it. Any other questions? Yes.
Are there any other sample pack companies or sound designers that you recommend?
I mean, Splice is kind of, I guess, the most popular one. As I mentioned earlier, Sound Oracle, he makes really dope stuff. A good friend of mine, he produces for like Post Malone and Sway Lee. His name's Diego Ave. He also does kits as well. I would say just keep your ear to kind of like the industry, because it's always changing, and you know, the more that you're around like studio sessions and other producers and seeing what they're using, like it only helps to make sure that you're on the cutting edge of like the latest sounds. Because a lot of times, like, you know, the VST companies, it's not that it's standard, but it's like everybody has access to it, so you want to be on top of like the latest like kits and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Do you worry a lot about EQing in your process, or are you mostly just finding sounds you like, painting a picture?
Again, because I have an engineer ear, like I literally will, if a sound doesn't immediately sound like it gels, and I know that I'm gonna have to do a lot of work on it, whether it's compression or EQ or spatial effects, I will move on to another sound till something else just feels or sits right. So the mixing process, because of that, is a lot shorter for me. Mm-hmm. Yes, back there.
I'm super sample-based,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw that all of your like drum processing and whatnot was done via MIDI.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a benefit you find from that rather than like audio? Because I'm like 90% sample-based, right? But when I find something on MIDI, I print it to audio because
Mm-hmm.
I commit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious, do you find, or is that like you print to audio?
Well, yeah, so the thing I love is the flexibility of MIDI and the fact that you can use whatever sample you like and just replace, you know, the sounds on the fly because it's MIDI. You know, it's harder to do that with audio. Although one thing I love about Ableton is it's one of the very few DAWs that can actually process a sample, and you can right-click, like let's say a drum loop with a kick and a snare, and you want to swap out the sounds, it extracts it and gives you the groove and everything, and it even allows you to apply that groove to other clips as well, which is really cool. Mm-hmm.
How did you get to that window with the templates? Can you do that again?
Oh yes, yeah. I don't know why they didn't already by default have a templates filter, because again, being an engineer, you know, I've used Pro Tools for like 15 years, and like I live and die by my templates. Like I don't walk into a session without a template. So like the fact that you have to create a templates folder for templates to work was kind of like, okay, this is weird. Love you, Ableton. But that was weird. But you do have to physically create it yourself, and you have to go to music. The directory would be music, Ableton, user library. Templates typically wouldn't be there. I created that folder. So Command-Shift-N will get you a new folder, templates. I'm also big on quick keys with everything, so I know all the quick keys. Also, another fun quick key you guys may or may not know, Command-Tab, right? It goes through all your open applications. Live and die by that as well. But okay, so the directory is then user library, Command-Shift-N, create templates. You have to spell it exactly like that. If you put template, it won't work. Like you have to put templates with an S, and then anything you save in that folder will now become a template. So anytime you open it and you try to save, it'll bring a save as folder, save as window up. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yes.
What inspires you to like keep going and never stop?
Okay, that's a difficult question. I mean, honestly, I've been in the music industry for over 20 years. And there's definitely a lot of ups and downs, and I've heard no millions of times. And I would say my advice is really, to first and foremost have a clear vision on what your dream is and be relentless. And when people say no, it just means not now, try again later, right? Like that's the mentality I have. And then B, just keeping a very strong support system. I'm extremely fortunate to have amazing parents, and they've always supported me. And my sister, who's like my other half, and she always has supported me emotionally, because that's also important. If you have people around you saying like, oh, you can't do this, or you're not good, or even if you're not good, if it's something that you love, you're gonna keep doing it every day, and you're gonna get great at it, you know what I mean? So you have to just be very conscious of the energy you keep around you as well, is really important. And then obviously my girls, they inspire me every day. I personally put my singing career aside for like the past decade, and they are holding me accountable for making an album now. And they're like, no, you're gonna make an album. I don't care if we have to produce it, or you're making. So, you know, they inspire me every day as well to keep going, so, yeah. Yes.
Do you have any tips for processing vocals and setting up?
Okay, so vocals is actually my specialty. As they mentioned earlier, I've been able to work with a lot of really great artists and learn their workflows and like what sounds best for them. I definitely believe strongly in using fewer plugins, but knowing the crap out of them. Like, if you have a compressor you like I like the CLA 2A, like I'm gonna know exactly if I move it a teeny weeny bit, like I know exactly how it's gonna affect the sound, because I know that plugin. I know like the tone of it, what it produces. A lot of times people are like, oh, I'm gonna throw 50 plugins on it, and then you change one thing, you don't know where in the chain to change anything else, because you got so much stuff going on. And I've seen it time and time again in sessions, and I've been very fortunate to have repeat clients and great clients, because like I said, I have a few tools that I know really, really well, so I know exactly what to get out of them. So for vocals, yeah, I would say just like a few plugins, don't go overboard, and know your sounds.
Right. Do you have a couple that you can recommend? Or?
Well, the CLA 2A is awesome. The SSL G channel is also really dope. Because it has EQ and compression, and it allows you to change, you know, the path as well. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yes. In the back.
I know it's a little off subject, but can you tell us a little bit about your experience as doing like singing competitions and stuff like that?
Oh God. So my first experience actually was American Idol. And I'm from Miami, Florida, by the way. So I tried out, at that time it was like in Orlando. And I remember everybody would always tell me, because I had been singing since I was like 11, they would say like, oh, you know, a lot of people want to do what you want to do. Do you realize how competitive it is? And I was like, yeah, whatever. So I got there the night before the audition, and there were literally 5,000 people sleeping on the floor that had the same idea I did. I was like, I'll get there the night before. Oh, that'll be fine. And another 5,000 showed up after. There was literally 10,000 people that showed up. And there is actually a large process. A lot of people aren't aware. You don't see Simon that day. Like, they don't see 10,000 people. You have to go through like 3 rounds of like producers and things like that before you finally get to see the judges. So funny enough, I at the time, was able to tag along to the Las Vegas group, because unfortunately we had a hurricane, so when the judges were supposed to come down, they couldn't, so they threw us in with the Las Vegas group. I was like 20 years old, I couldn't even get into anything. I couldn't walk through any of the hotels. They were like, nope, you're not getting in. But it was a really great experience. And it was, for me, I made it to Hollywood. I got cut in Hollywood, and I think that was because, well, first of all, I forgot the words and I got nervous, but I was so far away from my support system, and I wasn't like mentally prepared. But it was a great learning experience, because I was able to acknowledge that, and then also, you know, move forward, and also be inspired by how many other talented people were out there. So definitely inspired me to push harder. Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm just curious about, I don't know what it's called, the other Novation product that are the keys with
the launch key?
and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, do you use anything like that? Because it seems like knobs are such an intuitive way to flow.
Oh yeah.
Is that part of
Yeah, I'm very much a hardware person. I have a lot of producer friends who strictly just use laptops. I mean, Wheezy, I've never seen him with a MIDI controller, hardly ever. and he's one of the biggest producers. But I personally like to have hardware and touch and turn and automate and all that stuff physically. I like it. But yeah, the girls, they use the Launch Key Minis, and they're really dope because they have the pads, the keys, and a few knobs. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When teaching, right, what are some of the, I would say, setbacks or obstacles, or I would say learning curves that a new student will face that you have helped them kind of get through?
Okay, good question. So, the very first time I decided to teach a bunch of little girls Pro Tools, I failed horribly. Like, I literally had a professional videographer come in and like, here's the video, and people are like, those girls look bored to tears. Like, they look so bored. And you know, me being an engineer, you know, I was used to like the engineer jargon. So I'm like immediately talking about quantization and bit, you know, sample rate and bit depth and all this stuff. And they're like, huh? They were so checked out and bored. And over the years, I've been very fortunate to use my experience in working with the girls and refine my curriculum and my style of teaching to a very effective one. We start with girls as young as 7 and all the way to 17 and have them in the same room together, and they're learning Pro Tools, Ableton, Serato, like all the big stuff. And the reason that is because I've found ways to make it relatable and fun and hands-on immediately. So like in our curriculum, we start with DJing, and we actually are slipping in engineering concepts without them even knowing, because they're having so much fun. They're like listening to Drake or, you know, whatever artist. And in between the two decks is the mixer. So they're learning EQ and about filters, and it's also the delivery too. So I have found ways to be very relatable to kids. So if I'm explaining, for instance, like what a high pass or low pass filter is, first I'll like isolate each band to let them hear what it sounds like. And then I give them examples like, have you girls ever been on a carnival ride and you see that thing that it's like, you must be this tall to pass? And they're like, yeah, I hate that thing. I'm like, okay, that's your thresholds, right? Like, so the high pass filter is basically saying all the tall people could pass, but the low ones can't, the little short ones can't. So like, I say things like that like make it relatable, or like EQ, I'll say like, how many of you guys are like the older sister or brother? And they're like, oh, me. And then what happened when your little brother or sister came? I had to make room for them. It's the same thing with EQ. You know, here comes another instrument. You got to make room for it. So like just finding like fun and creative ways to make it relatable to them and enjoyable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So just going back to your comment about you have a very good engineer here, like you said, and when you find a sample you like to go with it, but after you imported everything into the arrangement, I mean, you pretty much just not touch it, not EQ or anything. You're just like basically that's it. You're done. Or do you do any post-processing on any of the instrument tracks?
I definitely do some post-processing and some spatial effects and automation and all of that in the process as well. Again, sound selection to me is the most important thing. So if I find that something's too clashy because it's like in the same frequency range, like I'll look for maybe a higher hat, or I'll transpose it, or, you know, add a different instrument that's not already living in that space. So it makes the mixing process a lot easier. But I do put time in mixing as well. Cool.
And we can have some more questions after as well. Whole question, Q&A panel too.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you. That was awesome. You guys had some really good questions and very informative. So give it up for her again, please. One more time. Please, please. Thank you. So guys, we're going to just take a few minutes, stretch your legs, grab a new beer, refresh your drink, and come on back for our next master. Don't be late. Hey, check. All right, guys, let's go ahead and head back over if we could. All right, everybody. 1 2 1 2. Check. Check. All right, guys. Chiloo. Hey, we're back. Check. We're back. Not y'all, you good, man. It's not gonna wrangle everybody. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nah, you guys are back. You doing the right thing. You're good. Check. Yo. Hello. All right. Tight. Hey, thank you guys so much. Come on back over, get comfortable again. We have another master, and this is a really cool night, right? Because hip hop is the biggest genre in the world right now, and so you have the Gracie's family is known for MMA, right? Well, this man is a part of a family that's known for legacy, heat, hailing from the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan, or Detroit, home of the players, how you want to say it, right? He's produced for himself. He's a singer, producer. He's put out projects on Delicious Vinyl. You guys might know about Delicious Vinyl, Wes Adams, right? Stone's Throw. He is the younger brother to Dilla Dog, the Illa the Raw, but he's his own man. Please give it up for Illa J.
Yo, testing 1 2. Yo. So he introduced me. Like I said, my name is Illa J. I'm from Detroit, and I like making music and shit. So yeah. Just a raise of hands, like who's all like producers here, songwriters, like artists. Okay. Who all uses Ableton? Who all uses other DAWs? Okay, I got a question. Who's new to Ableton, like in the last, like recently? Okay, there we go. Cool. So just to let y'all know, like I basically, I didn't start using Ableton until January this year. I started off on Pro Tools, and then after that I went to Logic, and I was using Logic for a long time. And all my friends were like, yo, Ableton, bro, like years. Just like, yo, man, I'm telling you, man, Ableton. And I was like, I'm straight, yo. Like I'm comfortable with Logic, because when I first started with Ableton, the mixer screen, that tab, the session view, that kind of confused me because I was so used to the horizontal, like okay, I record here, track two. It's just like that was just super straightforward for me. So when I first saw the grid, like it was such a new thing for me, but. Yeah, not like once I got the Launchpad, pretty much I had to learn Ableton. I was like, you can do other things with it. You can control other machines and play it as a MIDI controller, but it's just what it is. It's like if you have a Launchpad and you're not using Ableton, then you're missing out on so much of what it does. Because it literally is this is like a Swiss Army knife for Ableton, literally. Like, but yeah, I'll go through my workflow a little bit. Like for me, I just like to get ideas. I like to capture the moment. So it's like for me, I really like to work fast, even when it comes to recording. It's not about rushing it, but for me, it's nothing like that raw moment. You know, you might make a mistake that you're not gonna replay anything exactly like that anymore. So, but yeah, for this right now, I have a couple of drum racks already loaded on here. Because what I do is every time before I start a session, I'll create a new drum rack. Or if you ever used an MPC before, same thing as a drum program, same thing. But yeah, I got a drum rack up here now. So on here, you just go session, note, boom. And one of my favorite things about this actually is the capture MIDI button on here. You hold that and I could literally just play something like, I just gotta find a rhythm. and I just hold that. See, it got all of that shit. I just like. Yeah.
I feel like you should keep it as a drum fill coming into
Yeah, right. But like sometimes I work like that, honestly. But like I really like working from the one. So like like if you just start from the one, when you hit that, like the click will start. So I'm just trying to see what tempo I want. Like.
Can you maximize your Ableton?
Oh yeah.
Hit the
where is it?
big window.
Oh, you mean?
Circle at the top left.
Where is it? Oh, I didn't even know I was. Okay, yeah. Knew it was a little different. Let's see. Maybe 93. Oh, no. That's not what I want us to do. And this is a lot of my session, is deleting shit over and over. Straight up, man. It's like, no. Fuck it, I'm starting with that. And it's easy to like change it. Like that's one thing I do now too is I start to mess with the tempo of whatever I record just to kind of see like if I'm like maybe faster is dope or maybe slower is dope. Nope, not feeling it. So that's where I'm at right there. Just like that kick, just sounds nice and full. Like sometimes I use the whole idea, or sometimes I might be like the last 2 bars works better, or the last so many, first bars, or whatever. And it's really easy on here. Record our next track. I like to start on the one, just so it's no confusion. The dope part about this is like the mixer on here. So on the last Launchpad, basically, if I hit here, it would just go straight to that note. But it's like it's so many. It's like as you hit it, as it lights up, it's like nudging it like that. So it's like it doesn't just jump right up the volume. So it's kind of dope when you like adjusting it. Play that like that. So cause I have a template with a bunch of stuff. So basically, like, at the crib, I have the peak set up and the MP and my circuit. I have them going in this audio track. So I have like 6 tracks just for drums, 6 tracks for my Novation peak, and then I have MIDI tracks too, which I usually don't use MIDI tracks as much, honestly, because I'm usually going in audio. But that's more for my when I'm just using my Launchpad. But then I just learned something from Tiffany today, so I won't be having like all this stuff in one session. But for today, it will be. Trying to see. So this is my favorite. One of my favorite things to show y'all is so on track 5 I have a simpler, which she was also talking about. And if you go to it's this website called A to Z Labs, and it's a plugin called Auto Slice, and there's one called Pad Slice. And Pad Slice is basically I don't know if you worked with anyone ever worked on the Ableton Push or MPC Live. So yeah, okay. So you know about the for those who don't know, you can auto chop basically, like if I'm singing like this, I can. If I'm singing like you know what I mean, on the pads, like as I'm going. So, but like I'll grab a random sample, and also Ableton, my favorite thing is this section with the search section, the browse section. Like I can, instead of me spending so much time looking for stuff, like I could just do a lot of pre-work before I start any of my sessions, and you could. On the bottom corner here, you'll see an add folder. So I can add any folder from my desktop, anything. Like say I got a folder that's just a folder full of claps. I just go right here. And also, when it comes to sounds and stuff, the favorite button is really, really dope to use. Like say, for instance, I'm going through these bass sounds and I find one I like. I don't really like it, but I'm a like, you know, right click on that and I'm like, okay, cool, I put it in favorites. So instead of me having to go, I open a new session or whatever, instead of me having to go through all the sounds and categories, I just go up here to the red, boom, favorites, the bass line that I picked is right there or whatever. So, but yeah, that's, you know, some shortcuts to save you time. But yeah, simpler, that's my favorite shit. Let me see how that, MPC, waves. So yeah, I just got a bunch of random samples in the folder. I probably chopped all of these like a few times. Like, oh, there we go. Got some shit. So, so yeah, I don't know if you can see on there. Okay, yep. So I'll go to slice, and then manual. I take off the warp. Turn on the pad slicing, and let me do one thing to make it even easier to see. Word. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. And then clear slices. So yeah, it was pretty much I turned it to slice. Transient turns slice by manual. Took off the warp, and then go to pad slicing. It sounds like it's a lot of shit, but now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that's a lot of directions. And then, and then you go to clear slices. But actually, when you go to A to Z Labs and you go, you get the pad slicing plugin, it actually gives you the instructions on it. So when it comes with it, so yeah.
Is that a max for live instrument?
Yeah, basically, yeah, yep. And I just drag it with Simpler. Okay, cool. So I'm on track 5. I'm on. So it's like the dope thing when you chop on here is I could keep it as a simpler instrument and just still play around with it like that, or I could slice it into a drum rack. But I like to keep it open, at least when I'm still experimenting with the idea, because I can still transpose it or whatever, because otherwise I slice it to a drum rack and then, you know, everything's kind of set. I could still change it, but then at that point I would have to change it pad by pad. So like now, every time I tweak something, it affects everything, every chop.
You try freezing, flattening, and then resampling it again?
I mean,
Transpose from there?
yeah, I'm doing it straight from simpler, and then usually like I'll just keep it in this until I slice the drum rack. But yeah, I'm gonna mess around with it. So I'll see what I got. And then another one of my favorite things is the panning feature on the X is like a lot more clear. Like on Launchpad Pro, it was like basically like this way, horizontal, and then this would be track 1, 2, 3, 4. But this one is it's crazy. This is the point where I'm like, okay, I just need a bass or something. Actually, just need some more movement. like, in the process, I'm like, I would honestly start writing to it just because, like as Tiffany was saying, you don't want to do too much before you put vocals on it, because then you like, because the thing with vocals is people forget that like the vocals is an instrument too, so it's like you gotta literally think of it as another instrument. I feel like a lot of, it's just what it is, even me coming up, like at some point you grow past that, but I feel like sometimes beginner, when you first starting as a rapper or something like that, you find yourself just rapping over the beat as opposed to with the beat. So it's like, and even someone writing a song, it's not just with rapping, it's like, you have a lot of people that writing over the music as opposed to with the music. So it's like, what happens is you have all these elements clashing with each other. So it's dope when you producing from scratch to like kind of, because again, if it's just gonna be an instrumental, it's different, but it's like, if you know like, okay, I'm gonna put some vocals here, it's like, it's kind of dope to leave a space for that, and know like, okay, you know what, this pocket could be like, where the vocals could fit, cool. And then once I got vocals in it, I could kind of sprinkle around. Like, if I know I'm gonna sing on it or something like. And then like, if I have that and I'm like, ooh, I got my vocals now, I could just play a key, like a synth under that. So it's like, leaving that space, you know, like it's super important. I would actually rap on this. This is the part where I just, whatever I think of at that time, I just name it. like I'm the type of person, if I just ate some Frosted Flakes, I'll name my session Frosted Flakes. Like, fuck it, frosted, fuck it. If I could spell today. But yeah, that's like, that's a little bit of my workflow, a little bit, like I usually have, cause I'm showing off the Launchpad X today, but I usually, like I said, I have an SL MK3 49 that I usually use, and I basically use that with the Novation Peak. So that's like, cause I started with the circuit, real talk, salute to the homie Jason here from Sam Ash. Quick, long story short about how I even am using Novation stuff. So basically, I was like I was telling y'all before, I was a long-time MPC user, and I was looking for a teammate for my MPC, like for tour and shit. So it was like, I need something else. So I'll be there spending so much time looking for shit, and then he showed me the circuit. And I just didn't get it yet, you know what I mean? And then eventually, Jason, a link with Cody, and then Cody brings over the Launchpad. And like I was telling y'all, I hadn't even worked with Ableton before end of January this year. So it's like, I've already toured with Ableton already this year. And all that to say that you can learn anything that you put your mind to, literally. It's like, it sounds so cliche, but literally, like, how I learned everything from the MPC, every instrument that I learned, is pretty much, I'm thinking about what I want to do. I'm like, okay, how do I make this machine do what I want it to do? Like, literally, that's it. Like, cause you can go through the manual and be like, okay, transports. This is all my transports, and go. You know, you can go chapter by chapter. Okay, so this is how you record in. But I think it's, you know, it's really good to just jump in hands on, and, you know, just make a bunch of mistakes. That's how you're gonna learn the most. Like I've learned so much from fucking up. Like, honestly, like basically, I'll be frustrated all night. Like, damn, how do I? You know, and, you know, I text Enrique cause my clock is messed up. I travel a lot, so, you know, I might text him 4 in the morning, like, yo, man, fucking, well, why can't I do this? You know, he'll text me some hours later, like, yo, all you got to do is do this. And now I have so much of a better knowledge of, like, with Ableton, like for example, this wasn't working, and at first because it was new. So I was like, oh, the scripts. So he gave me the scripts, I put it in, and now I know the process. So what happened was I did something and this didn't work for whatever reason. But oh, by the way, that's so say this, for whatever reason something happens, you have a malfunction or something like that. One thing that I learned is so if you got the script, you could pretty much, you go to where is it? It's my finder. There we go. Can you see that? Oh, you can. Okay, all right. Applications, right click, Ableton Live, show package contents, app resources, and then it's a MIDI remote scripts folder, and in that you'll see, you know, it has everything, Arteria, Axiom, and that's how you, like, that's the scripts for everything. So, you know, so this will work perfectly with Ableton and all that stuff. So, like, basically, if you have a malfunction with this, you know, most likely you probably already have the scripts in some folder in your computer. So what you do is you basically just replace the scripts in the folder. That's it. So like once you get the script for whatever you have, Launchpad, whatever instrument it is, you pretty much just save a folder of that on your desktop just in case anything happens with it, and then all you gotta do is go through these steps, place it back in the MIDI scripts folder. It should work. And then if all fails, and if this is working, what I found out, because my SL, basically I think what happened was when I updated Ableton to use this, I did something where it messed up my functions with SL and Ableton. So I rebooted that. So I'm like, okay, it's not my SL. So I just reinstalled Ableton. Like, you know, like I'm learning like almost in everything, if you just reset it, it always works. I don't know why. That's like, yeah, but honestly, that's like for me to figure that out, it took me like a long time. Like I was like frustrated, cause like I said, you have those times where you wanna. It's always that every blue moon you ready to make something, and then something just goes wrong. I don't know. You press a button or something like that, and then you just like pulling your hair out, like, oh my God, where do I go from here? You know, but yeah, you gotta just honestly, yo, it's like it's so many things you can learn if you just tap into it, and I think that's really it. Just really understanding your own workflow. Like I know that like it's things y'all know in Ableton that I don't know, and it's probably some things I know that y'all don't know, and you know, working with other people, you learn a lot of different stuff. That's why it's actually good to have other homies that produce to, you know, bounce ideas off of. Because every once in a while, you might make something that's really dope, but you don't even know it because you didn't listen to it so many times, mixing it, and then you take it to another studio, and you're like, oh, dang, he's like, that's, like some of your homie is like, yo, that beat you just played is crazy. And that's the one beat that you were the most insecure about. Like, you didn't want to play that one, and it just played by accident. And they end up happening to be like the one that people like and stuff. But yeah, you gotta have like, I think it's dope to have people that's doing the same thing as you, because it's like, it's a good motivation. Like for me, that it really helps, because I got homies that's always producing and stuff. So it's like every time I go to their studio, my motivation is like, I don't want to be the one that's playing the whack shit. So it's like, cause you know what I mean? It's you need that. It's like, it's dope to have that inspiration. When you got other people that's really going hard at it, you know? Cause like, yeah, don't get me wrong, like it's good to have people that's encouraging and stuff like that, but you want that real, like, you don't want someone to just say it's dope just because like they you know, they love you and they care about you, they don't want to hurt your feelings. Like, you know, like it's good to, you know, you gotta take that tough criticism, because like that's gonna get you really far, and you never know when you're gonna be in a studio session and yo, everybody's in here. Like you were saying, I know it's, you know, it's big names and all that stuff, and you know, they in there with their entourages, but you know, it's like, yo, we here for music, and you got to be able to show like, okay, this is what I do, shit. And then that, once you tap into that, then it's like a whole different vibe. Because honestly, I've been in a lot of different studio environments, and you know, because I know this is about beats, but in a weird way, the environment in which you make music is a big part of that. Like if I'm like even when it comes to location, like when I'm in LA, I make different beats than when I'm in Detroit. And you know, like I said, it's the same with the studio room. Like it's a different vibe when it's like it's like a party. It's in the studio, but it's like you don't know these people, but it's like they a part of whoever came with them. But you still got to focus on your shit. So it's like, you know, your surroundings, like that's really important. And as far as like with your workflow, that's why for me, I don't really, you know, for me and my boy Calvin, salute to Calvin, he produced my last 2 albums. We don't really have anybody in the studio when we working. It's just us. And if you about to write some shit or make some beats, then you can come in the studio. Otherwise, it's like we don't, you know, there's no games. Cause I mean, at the end of the day, that's how you learn it. It's that time that you put in. That's what I meant to say earlier. It's the time that you put into it. Like I said, like I just learned Ableton this year. Now, like I probably made more beats in Ableton than I even made on my MP and in Pro Tools, like all in this year, because the work flowed so fast. So, yeah, like that's it. I mean, I can make another beat real quick if I got time, where I don't know what to. You know. Did I make one?
Yeah, you want to. You want to take some questions?
Or questions or whatever, yeah.
Quick question. So I forget what you said you used to chop that sample up. I'm trying to chop up more samples, and I want to know what you were using to chop that sample up.
Oh, it's so if you go to instruments, where's and you have, well, I mean, I think it's MIDI instruments. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's this area is like sounds, drums, and then this area, and then Simpler, what she was talking about earlier. Okay. It's like the best one for like samples. Drag.
Can you download that for any DAW, or is that Ableton exclusive?
I think Simpler is Ableton exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. But when using Ableton, by the way, if you want to, especially if you want to auto chop, go to you should write it down, like it's called A to Z Labs, and download, and it's free. You got to buy it, but it's free. So they sell a lot of plugins on there. But it's called Auto Slice and Pad Slice. Yeah, and then Auto Slice and Pad Slice. And you use that basically like with Simpler, use it together.
Awesome. You know if you can use Pad Slice like with the keyboard, or does it only work with the launch station?
Oh, it works with the keys because it's basically like it's chromatic. Like I can do like if I would cause I could chop using the chromatic keyboard too as well. I open the MIDI track. Yeah, I did. Okay. Where is it? I just I don't know what sample this is. Clear. Okay, so yeah, I'm yeah, so is it? There we go. I must have changed it. My bad. Oh, there we go. It's not working right now. Oh shit. But like I don't know why it's not doing it with that. I think it's because I changed the layout. But yeah, I use it with the SL at home, and I start on C1 because it basically starts with like C1 and up, and yeah, I chop on my keyboard actually. It's actually more fun that way because then I have, you know, I got the full keyboard. I don't have to really go through the like the different banks and stuff. So yeah. Okay. Cool.
So, external gear related. You know, my MPCA, bring MPCA. What is your favorite external drum machine?
External drum machine. I mean, if you're talking about like like for me, like it's all about workflow and like not spending a lot of time looking for stuff, searching. I love the circuit just because I can use components and create my own drum packs and drum programs, and pretty much like say I want to go, I have a session and I'm like, okay, I know that we working with someone and she got a jazz vibe and these the kind of drums she like. I go on Splice and I could just drag or whatever, chop up my own drums to MP and just drag those waves directly into components, and then everything is like all my drums are organized right there. And it has a step sequencer, 16 steps, like 4 drum tracks, 2 synths in it. I think it's the Nova synth, actually, if I'm not mistaken, synth engine inside of it. So yeah, I mean, you got a drum machine with 2 synths in it. I mean, and it's customizable. You can make it your own sound. Yeah, you can't beat the circuit when it comes to that. Like the MPC, what I like about the MPC is just it's just an incredible sampler. This is what it is. It's an incredible sampler. But I mean, if you're talking about you trying to get some ideas out, the circuit, man, the circuit is a beast. Yeah. Word. Honestly, it depends. Like for me, when it comes to writing, I'm glad you asked about the hook too, though, because I didn't start doing this till like 2 years ago. But like I actually write the hooks first, just because it keeps the song on the right topic. Like, cause I could write a verse going into, like just build from that. Like, okay, I write a verse. Okay, my verse, I'm talking about love, so maybe my bridge got a bridge in. But it's like that's cool, but I kind of like reverse engineering. Like, okay, cool, I got, this is the big idea. So now I'm writing into this. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool to like have that big part done first. But as far as writing a hook, honestly, for me, it's I just want to write something that's like a memorable melody that's not boring, but that's catchy, but that doesn't burn out. So it's a lot of layers of stuff. But I'm thinking about all of that. But at the same time, though, for me, like my process when it comes to music, it's all about feel. It's all about feel. It's like if it feel good, then it works. You know what I mean? Sometimes even with singing, it might be something that's like flat or sharp. But like every blue moon, it just kind of works. You just got to kind of keep it like it's off. You know what I mean? Like obviously you have that friend that he knows music theory. He plays jazz piano or some shit, so he can tell you like, yeah, man, that's flat. Like I got so many boys like that. Like, yo, it's flat, right? Yeah, whatever, man. But I mean, like honestly, I really feel like it's about that feel, because at the end of the day, everyone has their own unique, ear, like for music, and like you're gonna hear something different than I hear. Like when I was starting drums, you already had it. You had your own idea for it. You get what I'm saying? So it's like I feel like trusting your gut, like your gut feeling, that's the most important thing. Because it's easy to be like, okay, well, someone can say this is how I produce, and I do like this and I do like this. But like I said, it's like I feel like the most important thing is really just finding what works for you, and just getting really good at that. Like for me, I know that I'm really rhythmically inspired, and I don't really like even though I use a metronome, I'm still kind of like I don't know if y'all saw, like if y'all up front, y'all probably saw, I'm like I got this bounce when I'm making beats and shit, and it's like everybody got their own bounce and shit. So it's like for me, I know that if it's hitting that bounce, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in it. It's like interviews with, what was it, Quincy Jones, I think, and he's talking about Michael Jackson when they would, record, records and shit. And he was saying when Michael started dancing and shit, that's when he knew he had the right one. You know what I mean? It's like, it just, it's that feeling. You just know, you know that it's dope. And I think it was a question earlier when Tiffany was presented about when or when not to keep adding shit or not, you know what I mean? And I think that's the same thing. It's like I feel like we have this false conception that like we just need to, a track has to have so many layers, and honestly some of my best tracks is like 4 tracks. It's all about how you record it in, because again, like I actually want to talk about the plugin thing real quick. Like I feel like plugins, my opinion on plugins is that plugins are literally for specific things. Like they're special cases. So it's like back in the day, okay, we sampled a record, but it's a lot of static in it. So we got a plug-in to make sure it's not so much static, so we can hear it and listen to it and it's like enjoyable. Or the kick is clashing with the bass, or But I feel like nowadays people, like a lot of people, just kind of get lazy with production, and then they just try to use plugins to make it better. And I think that's the wrong way to approach it. I think it's you should have your idea as polished as possible before you even record it. And especially when you record it in audio, making sure your levels is right and it's not spiking or any of that. Because otherwise, you're going to spend another hour or so trying to get that, there's a high frequency in there that I just can't get out. And now you don't use 7 plugins on one track and the session's running slower. It's really all about how you record it in there.
Speaking to that, where do you set your ceiling for audio or samples in terms of how high, how loud it's going to go?
That's
back in the day when we used tape, you go all the way up to 0 and then push past it even sometimes. It doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Computers, you can't do that.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, like, I don't know. It's hard to say because it just depends. Like, it just really depends on the beat and like again how many elements in it, and also like what the voice is doing too. Like cause like and not even just the voice, the vocalist. You have some people that have a strong voice that just cuts through, and then some people's voice is like, some people it's like singers with like a quiet voice. So it's like, it's like, dang, every time the snare hit, it just blocks everything he or she just said. So it's like, I don't know, it really just depends. But I will say one thing I've experimented with a lot lately, and it really helps with my mixes is so it's like you make your idea, and obviously sometimes you have something on 0 already or whatever, or wherever you have the level at. But as soon as I do my idea, like I didn't do it today, but when I mix in stuff, like I record my idea and then I take it all the way down and mix it in. Cause like my logic behind that was like, if you got a steak or whatever you eat and you want to put some salt on it, you're not just gonna dump the whole thing of salt on your fucking steak. You're gonna slowly, you know what I mean? When you cooking, you're not just going, okay, you slowly kind of, mix it into it, So it's like, that's kind of the approach I've been taking with like mixing like sounds in, like, okay, I got the idea of it, now I'm gonna slowly kind of mix it in, like, okay, ease back a little bit, so yeah, that's kind of how I've been mixing lately. Yep.
I had a question with like top line on beats, like you mentioned that you started singing on top of it. Are you thinking of having a synth layer your voice underneath usually, like in terms of melody wise, or what is your ratio of like having the synth layer with your melody, your vocal melody, or versus having some sort of counterpoint happening, like a counter melody bouncing off your melody? Do you think about that prior to working on a record, or is it kind of happenstance?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like sometimes, like you're saying, like that top line is already there. Like when I work with a producer, he already made the beat, and it's like, dum, 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 dum. So I'm like, okay, maybe I could sing with that, or I'll like kind of go against it or whatever. But I don't know. It depends. Like for me, like before I even add any instruments like under my voice, I'm thinking of like layers of harmonies and stuff. Like I love like harmonies, like creating chords with my voice. I mean that's basically what it is to me when you're thinking about vocal harmonies. It's like you literally just playing chords with your voice. Yeah, but I don't know, like synths under it, like it sounds dope especially when it's like a hook line. But I kind of like I don't know, it's just something dope about going against something, because it's like it's easy to be like, okay, this is the main line, so I'm gonna go exactly to that. but like finding that kind of, ooh, where's a harmony or like a melody that's like, you know what I mean? That's not the typical notes that someone will pick just because like, okay, bump, 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 bump. So I'm gonna be like, I'ma just go this, then let me just do my fucking thing. I don't know, but like it's easy. You can go for that, or you could be like, so like, I don't know. It's just, again, it's really about space. Like some beats you just hear right away. You like, okay, like I just hear something floating over it because it's really about balancing out the speaker. So I want to make sure that, you know, nothing is clashing. My voice don't clash with the drums. It's space. And obviously, yeah, you know, panning and stuff like that, that helps with that, because then I could put my voice over here, and that way it's not in the way of the hi-hat or, you know, things like that. But I mean, again, I really feel like when it comes to production, it's really, I mean, music period is really no rules. The only rules really, I mean, obviously you have the basics, the fundamentals, you know, it's always that, you know, and, you know, that's making sure you record it right and everything, you know, like your levels is right and all that stuff. Like, to me, that's important before you even start your ideas. But once you start that, then everything after that is just, you know, it's no rules. It's really about getting it to where it feel good to you. Like, it's funny because it's like, my brother is known as like, you know, a legend for production, right? But it's like, when he started, people didn't really get it. They're like, his kick is too off. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's not like he was always like, oh yeah, he was the best. Like, most people like didn't really know, honestly, until he passed, you know. But like he was known more in the industry, like as far as almost like the industry secret. Like, yeah, I know this dude JD can make beats. And then after that, he became more known outside of that. But, you know, all that to say that, you know, when he first started, people thought what he was doing was weird. So it's like, I think, you know, that it's so important to understand your own voice, you know, musically, like this is my sound, and be okay with that. Because I'm just saying, think about it. If you chase a trend, and then as soon as that trend is done, then you done. Because you just, okay, now I got to learn. Okay, so they doing this now, so let me learn this. As soon as you caught on to that, nah, it's a new thing. You know what I mean? The trends change in music just like fucking iPhone updates. It's like every month, like, you know. So it's like the only way to like not even be affected by that is always be on your own sound, because then you can never, you don't, you know what I mean? You have your own growth, and no one can really mess with that. Yeah.
Is there a particular sound that is trending right now that you like listening to? Like, for instance, like, you know, like the baby type sound and those type beats where they're kind of bouncy and kind of quirky, or are you more the polished?
I mean, I like a little bit of everything. I mean, honestly, like, I'm not limited when it comes to that, just because I feel like it's dope. It's dope music in all genres. It's like, I'm not one of those like, oh, well, it gotta be this type of hip hop, or I'm not fucking with it. Like, it's so many people that like that. Like, it's like, oh, it's not underground. And it's like, what does that mean? It's like, for me, like, I feel like it's whack music in every genre. It's not like, oh, well, yeah, trap shit is whack, and then it's like, no, it's dope ass trap shit. It's whack trap shit. It's dope 90s hip hop. It's whack 90s hip hop. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just like illusion that, like, oh yeah, back in the day, everything was good, and it's like, no, man. It's like, I'm discovering now that it was always an underground scene. Like, even in the 70s and 60s, like, it's so much music I'm finding out about now that was like the second tier Marvin Gaye, but you just never heard of him, and he got like a dope ass record. Like, it's like not Got to Give It Up, but it's like close to it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so many records like that. But I think again, like, fine tuning your own sound is so important, and again, just knowing that it's really no rules. It's like, don't get me wrong, you got to know the fundamentals before you can even break the rules. But I mean, once you get past that point, you know, it's really just, like I said, fine tuning your own sound. And I mean, and that's the one thing I can honestly say that, like, working with all the Novation stuff is really helped me to do, because I feel like their products are literally made to, like it's intuitive. Like it's not too much. It's exactly what I need. Like on here, okay, cool. I got record arm so I can record the track, solo, mute it, stop the clip, sends, pan, volume. That's it. I don't need like a bunch of extra stuff. Cause it's like, at the end of the day, yeah, you can have all those shortcuts and have things on the device, but I feel like if you learn how to mix your own stuff, like that's so important, because then you don't gotta go spend all this money going to all these studios to get your stuff mixed. You could just mix it yourself, and then don't get me wrong, like trust, just trust your gut. Like if you know that I'm good at starting ideas, but I'm not necessarily good at mixing. Okay, well just go get an engineer, do it. But while you in those sessions, always be learning, because at some point, if you taking notes, eventually you should know how to work that SSL. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's really important. That like really learning like how to mix, especially if you're a vocalist, learning how to mix your own vocals is so key. That's like, cause then it makes it easier for you to work with anyone, and also like for anyone who writes songs, like I recommend just being able to, cause I get it sometimes where you gotta take a track and it takes you a few days and you're like, okay, I'm gonna sit on it and chill on it, but I feel like it's important to be able to write on the spot, cause I've had plenty of times where I was on tour and I had to knock out a feature the same day I had a show. So I would like go to the studio, knock out a feature, then go straight to sound check. And it's just what it is. It's musician world, that's extra bread. So, cause I'm just saying that's important, because like, for me, like the reason that I study so hard is, well, first off, I love music and I'm thankful to be able to do music for a living. So like, with that in mind, like when every day I wake up, I look at all my equipment and I'm thankful to, cause it's someone that don't have a start. They don't even have a laptop to even get started with. So it's just like the fact that I have everything that I have. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take advantage of this time to learn this shit the best that I possibly can. And I think you just gotta push it, cause otherwise, one thing I learned about this industry is that, like, you definitely don't want to be waiting on people. You be holding your breath, your face be blue. So it's like, it's best to learn, learn. And not only that, it's so many other, it's like learning different DAWs is very, very important too, I feel like, because like you could be a master on Ableton, but then you go to another session and they using Logic or they using Pro Tools. So I feel like nowadays it's definitely a good thing to be versatile when it comes to DAWs. But I mean, creatively, when it comes to workflow, I mean, I couldn't. I try to get everybody I'm working with to just like, yo, you working on Ableton, man? Just get the light version, just so we could, what I mean? Like, it's so easy, But yeah.
Any more questions for Ella or Tiffany too? Because let's not get the.
What are your tips for mixing vocals, or do you use that in like a mastering software?
I honestly like mixing vocals. I usually work with my producer on that. Honestly, like I start like for example, my new project, my next album, I'm producing all of myself, and I'm doing all my vocals too. But I trust him on how he vote. He just makes my vocals really dope, so I trust him with that. So but when it comes to recording my vocals, I feel like that helps him a lot, because he don't have to do too much mixing, because I make sure I record it at the right level. So like none of my stuff is popping or leaking, and there's a lot of techniques and stuff too. Like when recording like certain sounds, as far as like the P, like for whatever reason, if I say clap or like pop, like certain constants, they just like, you don't even have to say it hard. It's just for whatever reason they just spike and shit. But it's weird. Like my brain is so slow right now. But it's like it's certain techniques when you're recording that you could like you put something like in front of you, and then that way when the sound when it hits through, that P is just like it's soft. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So yeah, for me, like I just concentrate on making sure I record everything in at the right levels, and then it gives my engineer less work to do.
Do you have any tips for like organizing? Say you start an idea today, you don't finish it or whatever, like all the ideas start stacking up. Do you have any tips on like, making some sort of sense out of all of that?
Oh, you know what? Honestly, that's honestly my workflow every day. I start a lot of cause honestly that's why I like the workflow in Ableton, because it enables me to just make so much stuff. Because like for example, right now, like I'm working on my own solo project. I'm producing that, and I'm working with the singer from London, and I'm working with another singer from Japan. And like it's just like basically I got a bunch of projects going on. So like what I'll do is like I'll just start my day. I'm just making a bunch of stuff. Like nothing is labeled for this or this person, but I'm just starting a bunch of ideas. Make a beat, like I just made one now. I save that, and then next. I just keep creating, and I feel like it's good to be in that right brain kind of creative mode, because it's like because right brain is just more I'm just letting everything out. I'm not overthinking it, and then you turn on the left editor, like okay, take this out. This don't belong there. But I think it's good to get as many ideas out as possible, because you never know what that like beat number 10 or beat number 5 is gonna sound like, because it's easily to get caught up in the first track and be like, okay, this is dope. But it's like once it gets, it's always that point where you like, dang, should I add? When you got to think about adding something, you're not sure about it, save it, go to the next. Because then otherwise, you end up. I've done this many times where I spent so much time on a beat, and it's like I fucked it up. You know what I mean? It start like what was really dope at some point. I'm like, ooh, this was so dope an hour ago, and then it's like now it's just like damn, what happened to the soul of it? You know what I mean? And I think that's just like, you gotta just know when it's that point to like, okay, you know what? It's time to save it. And speaking of saving, like for real, I save. Like every 5 minutes I'm making a beat, I'm saving. I'm saving it like the entire time, because I've had too many times where I lost like super dope ass beat, and I'm just like, oh man, you serious, yo? So yeah, the save button is key, yeah.
Favorite session?
Favorite session? It's two that pop up right away. My first ever studio session with my brother when I was like 13. Because basically I'd always been writing. I started writing poems when I was like 8, and then I heard my sister's poetry, and I realized like, oh shit, I write songs actually. Because like she's like a really good poet, so she made me realize that I wasn't a good poet. Anyway, I've been writing, and I had the courage to say one of my rhymes in front of my brother, when I was younger, and he was like, "Oh, word." So he surprised me one day. He had like a limo come to the house and pick me up and take me to the studio, and I recorded my first verse and shit. And that was, I'll never forget that day. It was like, he went in there, made the beat. We in the big studio, like up in there. Like he helped me like a few lines, like, yeah, just take that word off of there. Like, I don't know, that session hands down. And then number 2 would be, I was working with Bishop Lamont, salute to Bishop Lamont. He was on Aftermath at the time, and pretty much he was recording at Can-Am. No one told me at this time. I didn't know till years after that was the same studio that Tupac was recording in, but I didn't know. I'm just there, I was only 20, and pretty much, I'm recording my verse, and then I look up, and then Busta Rhymes walk in the studio, and I'm just like, oh shit. So it's like, it's like the big control room where you can see everybody in the booth in the control room. So it's just like, oh shit. I'm like spitting my verse, and Busta walking in, and it's like, and that's what I'm saying. That I learned a lot from that, because then it's like, it's one of those things you have to be comfortable in your own skin when it comes to being in the studio, because again, like you got a lot of good vibes you know, because I mean, most of the time it's like people that just love music, and you know, we just chilling. Ain't nobody trying to hurt nobody. We just want to make some dope shit. But every once in a while, you know, I mean, it's just what it is. Sometimes you have some crazy energy in the studio, but I mean, at the end of the day, you paid for that session. You got to make some shit. So, you know, you got to be able to block all that stuff out and like be comfortable in your own skin. But like, I feel like, again, like as long as if you master like whatever your sound is, your technique and your process and your workflow, then you shouldn't have nothing to worry about. You go into any session and be like, okay, I know boom, let's go. I'm set. Like, yeah. Yep.
Besides the like every music, what made you pick up the Ableton and be like, I want to make beats?
I mean, I've been making beats since I was actually like 15. I never released any of my beats because I mean partly because of my brother's label and shit, because you know he's known as the best beat maker. So like I didn't feel like when I started out that would be the next, you know, that wouldn't have been the best way to start out, just because it's just, you know, just because of the comparisons and stuff. I just got to the point in my life now where I'm past that, and I'm ready to just like kind of like, you know, I don't care. It's like, yo, I sing, I rap, I make beats, I do all of this shit. But like when I first came out, I was kind of scared to show people my beats, just because I knew that people would automatically, you know, judge me based off of, you know, it's just what it is. They, you know, it's this big label, legend and shit, and it's like, oh yeah, this is brother. So it's like, as soon as I play something, everybody like, oh, that's whack. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, so I waited. But I mean, honestly, I started when I was like 14, 15. I had this, it was actually a video game on PlayStation. Funk Master Flex had a beat making video game. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I was making beats on that actually when I first started out. And then my first beats I made on my own, because I didn't have any equipment. All I had was a bass guitar and then turntable. And my boy, he had Adobe Audition, and I was just making stuff on Adobe Audition. And yeah, I don't even know this, which is funny because it's not even really made for making music. He was like recording radio stuff on it, but I figured out how to chop and loop on there, and then eventually after that was Pro Tools, which I never used right actually. People would look at my sessions and be like, yo, none of your shit is on the grid. But like, no, cause honestly, this is how I use Pro Tools. I would like say, so it's all horizontal. I'll go to like the other view. So it's like, you know, it's like this, but everything's on the other side without all the folders and shit, right? And I would just record, and I did, and then just loop it, and then I'll edit, I'll just cut wherever the loop stops, and like just loop, like manually slice and loop, and then next track do like that, and like I never had anything on the grid in Pro Tools. Like I had the craziest looking Pro Tools sessions ever. It was crazy, but yeah, I know that's off topic. I don't know where that went. Yep.
First of all, props to that. My first album, Fun with Toys, comes off the music generator off the PlayStation.
Oh shit, yo! Oh shit.
But my question, as far as like the Ableton, is I'm a live musician. Like I like moving my own guitar tracks and stuff like that. Like, is there any kind of particular Pro Tools app? Not Pro Tools, excuse me. Any kind of Ableton plugin you would recommend for that? Because I use a lot of analog 2-amp warm sound stuff.
You talking about for like for what specifically for?
Like if I'm doing like a lead guitar track, if I'm just kind of rolling with the notes and stuff like that, like what's it like? I'm kind of new to Ableton and stuff like that, and the thing is kind of intimidating for me because I'm a live musician.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, I'm an FEC guy, but it's like I'm a mesher, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was trying to see like what like you want to do like a pure like through sound to Ableton, or do you go through like a plugin or something?
Honestly, like I really like I'm a type, like for example, like my bass, like I'll go straight in through my like I have my sound card, but then I also have like my own my pedals and stuff. And before, like I said, before I even recorded into it, like I always have I don't use a lot of plugins as far as like on what I record in. Like I tweak it before I record it in, and that's pretty much it. I don't use as much plugins like audio tracks, unless like I said, unless it's like the highs, it's like it's too many highs, or it's like, okay, the highs is killing me, or like the bass is clashing or something like that. But I mean, again, like for me, like I tighten up the idea before I recorded it in there. So it's like whatever things I need to tweak up, I do that before I record it. That way, once it's in there, I don't have to deal with that. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly which plugins from Ableton, but I have a thankful to my homie. He gave me like the whole. I have the whole Waves collection, so it's a bunch of stuff on there that I use. Actually, the bass rider and vocal rider actually, like I use that on like vocal rider. Actually, you could even use that on bass lines too. Like like bass lines that kind of sometimes it dips low, but it's like you want to still get that lower part that it hit when it dips out, so it keeps everything like up like that. But yeah, I like the vocal rider and bass rider. It's really dope in Waves.
I can add to that too. There's a way to put a foot switch if you're recording stuff in, and just make sure your global quantile is set to like 1 bar. So you want to punch out. That's like the beauty actually of Ableton Live, one of the selling points for me, is because as a live musician, you have that flexibility to decide when you want to do just stop and play back immediately without having to have a predetermined amount of bars.
Oh, so it's like on 1 bar, because I use my GNX pedal sometimes, just because I customize, I ripped out the stock sounds, I put my own sounds in there. So like flipping is always an issue and stuff like that, as far as like high and muddy.
There's also a huge like amp cabinet that comes with the audio effects pack that you might want to look through and see what screen, but it's very similar.
Nice. So unfortunately, we got to cut the Q&A right now because we're giving some cool stuff. So stop the questions, get some free stuff. I like that idea, right? Hey, so once again, give it up for our 2 masters, please. Please, though. You guys are so great. Delilah, Ella, awesome. So tonight, not only did we feed you guys and give you booze, we're going to give you some gear too, right? So hopefully